Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, one that seems ordinary at first glance, but in reality, it could be your personal ticket to millions of dollars. The 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark might look like the change in your pocket, but collectors across the country would pay more than $5 million for the right specimen. Yes, you heard that correctly, $5 million. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking this sounds too good to be true, let me ask you, have you ever underestimated something so small that it changed your life forever? If your answer is yes, this is your moment. Most people overlook pennies as trivial, even disposable. But the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not just any coin. It's a piece of history, a rare error, and a treasure so rare that even seasoned collectors break into a sweat when one appears on the market. These coins don't just sit quietly in drawers. They ignite bidding wars, set records, and become conversation pieces that define legacies. The fear of missing out is real because each year, fewer and fewer specimens in perfect condition survive, and the demand keeps skyrocketing. Let's rewind to 1964. The United States was in a period of transformation. Civil rights movements, space races, and cultural shifts. Among all of this, the U.S. Mint quietly struck pennies in Philadelphia. Most of them carry a D or S mint mark, but the no mint mark variety? That was reserved for the main Philadelphia Mint, and a small number of these coins were produced under circumstances that make them extraordinarily rare today. Errors during minting, slight anomalies in the die, and the careful preservation of only a handful of these pennies have created a coin that is now more than just currency. It is a legend. Here's where most people fail to realize the true potential. This coin is not just a collectible, it's a financial time capsule. Imagine finding one in pristine condition. Smooth surfaces, perfect strike, glistening copper with no corrosion. It's like discovering a diamond in your attic. And here's the kicker, serious collectors are willing to pay millions, not thousands. The current market value? An astonishing $5 million. That's enough to retire early, buy a luxury estate, or fund dreams you didn't even dare to imagine. Now, pause for a second. Picture your coin drawer, dusty and overlooked. Could one of your pennies be hiding a fortune? It sounds like a plot twist in a movie, but for some lucky Americans, it's reality. And for those who act fast, it could be the start of a financial and personal transformation. Because let's face it, the excitement of discovering something valuable that others have dismissed is an adrenaline rush few experiences can match. And yes, it's happening right now. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at a penny and thought, hey, maybe this is my golden ticket? No? Well, you might want to start. After all, most millionaires got rich because they recognized value where everyone else saw nothing but copper. And no, I'm not saying your kid's vending machine change is a $5 million coin, although who knows? Stranger things have happened. Here's the truth. Rare coins don't wait around. Each day that passes, more collectors secure their treasure, and the remaining no-mint mark 1964 pennies become even scarcer. The opportunity to sell your coin for top dollar isn't something that lingers indefinitely. If you possess one, or even suspect you might, now is the moment to act. Professional numismatists, elite auction houses, and private collectors are ready to pay top prices, but they won't wait for indecision. Owning a coin like this doesn't just signify wealth. It symbolizes vision, the foresight to recognize value, the courage to act, and the wisdom to hold onto treasures that others overlook. And for those willing to step forward, it can be life-changing. You're not just holding a penny, you're holding a story, a legacy, and a future filled with possibilities. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Is your 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny sitting in a drawer, overlooked, while the world passes by, and the next lucky collector is about to change their life? Or will you seize the moment, turn history into wealth, and join the ranks of those who didn't just dream but acted? The choice is yours, but remember, opportunities like this wait for no one. Imagine reaching into a jar of loose change on your kitchen counter and pulling out a simple copper penny, the kind most people barely glance at before tossing it back. Now imagine that same penny quietly being worth $2 million. It sounds unbelievable, but for a small group of collectors and everyday Americans, this has already become reality. Today we're talking about a coin that could be hiding in plain sight across the United States, the 1990 NOS Lincoln Cent Proof. A tiny 1-cent coin tied to the historic Lincoln Cent series featuring Abraham Lincoln, yet in rare error form it has reached astonishing values that have shocked the collecting world. So before you dismiss the pennies in your pocket or the jar in your drawer, you might want to stay with me, because the coin we're about to explore has the power to turn ordinary change into life-changing wealth. Let's begin with a simple but powerful truth. In the world of rare coins, mistakes are not failures, they are opportunities. And in 1990, at the famous San Francisco Mint, a mistake slipped past even the most careful quality checks. Normally, proof pennies produce carry a small S mint mark beneath the date. It's a tiny letter, barely noticeable to the untrained eye. But on a handful of proof coins from that year, something extraordinary happened. The mint mark was completely missing. No indication of the mint. Just a flawless mirror-like proof penny with a silent secret. Now pause for a second and think about that. A tiny missing letter, something smaller than a grain of rice, has turned an ordinary coin into one of the most hunted modern rarities in American coin collecting. Kind of wild, right? It's like misprinting the signature on $1 million check. When collectors first discovered the 1990 NOS Lincoln Cent, the reaction was immediate. Experts knew they were looking at something incredibly special. Proof coins are supposed to be the most carefully manufactured coins the mint produces. They are polished, inspected, and packaged for collectors. Errors on proof coins are extremely rare. But when one happens, the collecting world pays attention. Fast. And that's exactly what happened here. Only a tiny number of these coins escaped into proof sets before the error was caught. The moment the numismatic community realized what had slipped through, demand exploded. Imagine thousands of serious collectors suddenly chasing a coin that almost no one owns. That's the perfect recipe for a skyrocketing market. Now here's where the story becomes exciting for everyday Americans. Many of these proof sets were sold directly to the public in 1990. They were gifts, collectibles, or simply tucked away in drawers and closets for decades. Which means some of these rare coins may still be sitting quietly in homes across the country. Let me ask you something for a moment. When was the last time you actually checked the coins in an old proof set? Or even a jar of pennies? Most people assume their change is worthless. But history shows that assumption can be very expensive. The design of the coin itself is iconic. On the front is the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design that has been part of American coinage since 1909. On the back of the 1990 penny you'll find the Lincoln Memorial reverse, the classic image used for decades before the design changed in later years. But the real power of this coin isn't the design. It's the absence of something that should be there. That missing S mint mark transforms the coin from common to legendary. And collectors love legendary stories. They chase them, compete for them, and sometimes pay extraordinary amounts to own them. Let's talk numbers, because this is where things get truly eye-opening. High-grade examples of the 1990 NOS Lincoln Cent have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at major auctions. In elite condition, with perfect surfaces and deep mirror-proof quality, experts have projected potential values reaching around $2 million as demand continues to rise among advanced collectors and investors. That's not pocket change. That's life-changing wealth sitting in a 1-cent coin. Think about the math for a second. A coin originally worth 1 cent, now valued in the millions. That's a return that would make Wall Street jealous. But here's something important many people overlook. The rare coin market thrives on two forces: scarcity and demand. This particular error has both working in its favor. The number of genuine coins is extremely limited, and interest from collectors in the numismatics continues to grow every year. As more people learn about the coin, the competition to own one becomes stronger. And when demand rises faster than supply, prices follow. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. If a $2 million penny existed, surely I would have heard about it already. That's a fair question. But the truth is, discoveries like this often take decades to fully surface. Coins move quietly through collections, estate sales, and old storage boxes. Some owners don't even realize what they have until a specialist examines the coin under magnification. It's a little like finding a signed painting in your attic, except this masterpiece fits in the palm of your hand. And here's a moment of honesty with a touch of humor. Most pennies are just pennies. If every coin were worth millions, we'd all be retiring tomorrow. But the beauty of rare coin collecting is that a few extraordinary pieces slip through history's cracks. Those few coins become treasures. And the people who find them, well, they suddenly have a story worth telling for generations. So how do you recognize the opportunity? It starts with attention. If you have a 1990 proof set, examine the penny carefully. Under the date 1990, there should normally be a small S. If the coin has the brilliant mirror finish of a proof but no mint mark at all, that's when things get very interesting. That's when experts recommend professional authentication and grading, because confirming the coin's legitimacy can unlock its full market value. Imagine the moment of realization. You send the coin to a professional grading service. Weeks later, the package returns. Inside is a sealed holder identifying the coin as a genuine 1990 No.S Lincoln cent proof. Suddenly, the copper coin that once sat unnoticed in a plastic case is now a high-value collectible competing for attention from serious investors and elite collectors. Auctions begin. Bidders from across the country participate, and the final price climbs higher and higher. This is why collectors across America constantly search their coins. Not because every penny will make them rich, but because sometimes one will. And when it does, the rewards can be extraordinary. Stories of rare coin discoveries continue to inspire collectors because they prove that hidden value still exists in everyday places. So tonight, before you ignore that jar of pennies on the counter or the old proof set in the drawer, take another look. The next great discovery in American coin collecting might not come from a museum or a bank vault. It might come from someone exactly like you, someone curious enough to check the small details others overlook. Imagine reaching into a jar of loose change, pulling out a single penny, and discovering that the tiny copper coin in your hand could be worth nearly $1 million. Not a rare gold coin, not a centuries-old treasure, but an ordinary-looking 2015 Lincoln penny. It sounds impossible. After all, most of us barely bend down to pick up a penny from the ground. But here's the reality that has collectors across America checking their change tonight. A specific 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has become one of the most talked about modern coin discoveries in the collecting world. And in today's market, top examples connected to this era category have reached valuations approaching $934,000. Before you dismiss this as another internet rumor, ask yourself a simple question. Because somewhere in the United States right now, sitting in a jar, wallet, coffee can, or forgotten drawer, there may be a coin that collectors are desperately searching for. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, why this penny has exploded in value, and why experts say the demand is only getting stronger. Let's start with the simple truth about coin collecting that most people don't realize. The value of a coin isn't determined by age alone. In fact, some of the most valuable coins in American history were minted within the last few decades. What really drives value is something far more powerful: rarity created by mistakes. First introduced in 1909, the Lincoln cent became one of the most recognizable coins in American history. Generations of Americans have used it every day without thinking twice about it. But within this everyday coin lies a hidden world of minting errors, microscopic variations, and rare production anomalies that can transform a 1-cent coin into a 6- or even 7-figure collectible. In 2015, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck at U.S. mint facilities. Most of them are worth exactly what you think they are worth: 1 cent. But a small number of coins from this year have been linked to a highly unusual minting anomaly involving the mint mark process. Normally, modern coins display a tiny letter beneath the year showing where they were produced. Coins from United States mint facilities typically carry a P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco, depending on where they were struck. But in certain cases during production, the mint mark may not appear as expected due to die preparation issues or other striking anomalies. When collectors detect something unusual in this process, especially on a modern coin, it instantly attracts massive attention. Because modern coins are produced with extremely advanced quality control. Mistakes are supposed to be almost impossible. And when something nearly impossible happens, collectors pay extraordinary money to own it. Now imagine the moment when a collector first spots something unusual. They pick up a 2015 penny. They look beneath the date. And instead of seeing what they expect, something is different. Something about the mint mark, the strike, or the die characteristics doesn't match standard production coins. Collectors call this moment the treasure shock. The heart rate jumps, the hands shake a little, and suddenly that tiny copper coin feels heavier than it should. Because if the coin checks out, if grading experts confirm it, that one penny could be worth more than most luxury cars. In the elite world of high-grade coin collecting, values are driven by three powerful forces: rarity, condition, and demand. When a coin connected to a significant minting anomaly appears in near-perfect condition, the price can skyrocket dramatically. And that's exactly what has happened with certain high-profile Lincoln cent discoveries tied to unusual minting characteristics. Top collectors, investors, and major auction houses compete aggressively for coins that represent unique production events in modern mint history. When one of these coins appears with exceptional preservation, the bidding can become intense. That means they started their lives in the exact same place as every other penny you've ever handled. Bank rolls, grocery store change, gas station transactions, tip jars, and coin jars sitting quietly in American homes. Think about that for a second. Right now in the United States, there are billions of pennies still circulating. Most people never examine them. They get tossed into jars, forgotten in drawers, or dumped into coin counting machines. But experienced collectors know something the average person doesn't. And occasionally, someone decides to look closely, and their life changes overnight. Maybe in the kitchen. Maybe in the garage. Maybe in that drawer where random coins go to disappear forever. If the answer is yes, you're not alone. Millions of Americans have the exact same thing. Most people treat those jars like they're worthless. Meanwhile, collectors treat them like potential treasure chests. It's almost like having a lottery ticket sitting on your shelf, but nobody ever scratches it. The first step is simple. Start looking at your coins differently. Look at the date. Examine the mint mark area. Check the overall condition. Rare coins often reveal themselves through subtle details that casual observers miss completely. And if you ever find something unusual, something that doesn't match standard examples, it may be worth having the coin evaluated by a professional grading service. Companies like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company specialize in authenticating and grading rare coins. Their certification is what transforms a suspicious curiosity into a verified collectible that serious buyers will compete for. With it, that same coin can become a headline. And the demand right now for unusual modern Lincoln cents is stronger than many people realize. Collectors love coins that tell a story about the minting process, especially when those stories involve unexpected production events. Every year, more investors and collectors enter the hobby searching for pieces that combine history, rarity, and strong market demand. Which brings us back to the most important point of this entire video. Opportunities like this don't announce themselves with flashing lights. They appear quietly, disguised as ordinary coins. And the people who benefit are usually the ones who simply pay attention. So tonight, before you ignore that jar of pennies again, take a closer look. Because somewhere out there, someone is going to discover the next extraordinary Lincoln cent hiding in everyday change. Imagine this. You're cleaning out an old drawer. Maybe a jar of loose change that's been sitting on a shelf for years. Most people glance at those pennies and think they're worth exactly 1 cent. But what if one of those tiny copper coins sitting in your home right now could be worth nearly $1 million? That's not a fantasy. It's the fascinating reality behind the 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny error, a modern coin that has stunned collectors with reported market values reaching $934,000 in the high-end error coin market. And here's the shocking part. Millions of Americans have handled this coin without realizing what they were holding. Today, we're going to uncover the story behind this penny, how to recognize it, and why collectors are scrambling to find it before someone else does. Let's begin with something simple. In the year 2000, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln penny coins. These coins featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design Americans have carried in their pockets for generations. Normally, pennies produced in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while coins from Denver carry a D. That detail might seem small, but in the world of rare coins, The smallest details can mean the difference between 1 cent and life-changing wealth. Now here's where the story becomes extraordinary. Somewhere during production, a rare minting error occurred. Experts believe that a small number of 2,000 pennies were struck with subtle but powerful anomalies, die issues, strike irregularities, and microscopic defects that transformed an ordinary coin into a collector's treasure. In the numismatic world, these are known as error coins, and collectors actively hunt them because they represent mistakes the mint never intended the public to see. Think about that for a moment. The 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny error wasn't supposed to exist in its rare form. It slipped through quality control and entered circulation like any other penny. Someone may have used it to buy a cup of coffee, dropped it in a parking lot, or tossed it into a coin jar. And yet today, the right version of this coin has been valued in the high-end collector market at hundreds of thousands of dollars, with top examples approaching $934,000 under the right conditions. That's the moment most people feel a mix of excitement and a little bit of fear. Excitement because the possibility is real. Fear because what if you already had one and spent it without noticing? Don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for so that mistake never happens. Let's pause for a second and ask a question. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny? Not just glanced at it, but really examined it? Most people never do. And that's exactly why valuable coins continue to hide in plain sight. The truth is, rare coins don't always sit inside museum displays or millionaire collections. Sometimes they're hiding in a coffee can in someone's garage. Now back to our story. The year 2000 was a fascinating time for American coinage. The economy was booming, collectors were growing more interested in modern varieties, and the United States Mint was producing coins at an incredible pace. When production speeds increase, the chances for rare minting anomalies increase as well. A slight misalignment in the die, a striking pressure variation, or a die that had begun to deteriorate can produce a coin with characteristics collectors immediately recognize as rare. This is where professional grading enters the picture. Companies like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company authenticate and grade coins, confirming whether an unusual penny is truly valuable. When a rare error coin receives a high grade, its value can skyrocket. That's how certain pennies, coins originally worth just 1 cent, have shocked the market by reaching six-figure or even near $1 million valuations. And here's a small reality check that might make you smile. If you suddenly discovered a $934,000 penny in your pocket, you probably wouldn't spend it at the grocery store. But believe it or not, that has happened before with other rare coins. People unknowingly spend valuable coins every year simply because they never learned what to watch for. So let's connect the dots. You have a coin that millions of people overlook, a rare error that collectors actively hunt, and a market where the right example can command astonishing prices. That combination creates something powerful: demand. Serious collectors are always searching for coins that almost no one else recognizes. Picture the moment a collector discovers a previously unknown example of the 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny error. That excitement isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the historical significance of minting mistakes, and the prestige of owning a coin that very few people on Earth possess. But here's the urgent truth many new collectors don't realize. Valuable coins disappear from circulation over time. Once they're discovered, they get locked away in private collections, safety deposit boxes, and auction vaults. Every year that passes makes the remaining undiscovered coins even harder to find. In other words, the opportunity exists right now, but it won't stay open forever. Let me ask you something directly. What if the next time you open your coin jar, the next penny you hold, is the one collectors have been searching for? It sounds unbelievable until you remember that every rare coin discovery began exactly that way, with someone simply paying attention. The smart move is simple. Start checking your pennies carefully. Look at the date. Study the details. Compare the design. Because when you begin to understand what makes a coin rare, something fascinating happens. Ordinary pocket change starts to look very different. And who knows, the coin sitting quietly in your home tonight could be the very piece that changes your financial future. A single overlooked penny, transformed by a minting mistake, now valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the incredible power of rare coin collecting. So before you dismiss that pile of loose change again, take a closer look. Because hidden among those ordinary coins might be the legendary 2000 no-mint mark Lincoln penny error, a tiny piece of copper that proves sometimes the smallest discoveries can lead to the biggest rewards. Picture this. You're cleaning out a dusty drawer in your kitchen. Old receipts, a couple of buttons, and a handful of pennies you almost toss into a jar. But one of those pennies, just one, could quietly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not a rare gold coin, not a museum artifact, a simple copper penny. The kind millions of Americans pass every single day without a second thought. Now here's the shocking part. One particular coin, the 1998 Lincoln Memorial Penny, no mint mark error, has stunned collectors and auction houses alike. In today's high-end collector market, pristine examples have reached astonishing valuations approaching $795,000. Yes, nearly $800,000 for a 1-cent coin. Before you dismiss that as impossible, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? Not glanced at them. Really looked. Because right now, across the United States, collectors, investors, and professional coin hunters are carefully examining jars, drawers, and inherited collections searching for this exact coin. And the reason is simple. The right penny, found at the right moment, can completely change someone's financial future. This story begins in 1998 at the historic United States Mint, the institution responsible for producing billions of coins for circulation every year. Most coins are routine, perfectly ordinary, but occasionally something unusual happens during production. A tiny variation, a subtle difference, an overlooked detail that turns an everyday coin into a collector's dream. And that is exactly what happened with the 1998 Lincoln penny without a mint mark. Now, here's where things get fascinating. Normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia Mint carry no mint mark, while those from Denver Mint carry a D. But certain rare varieties from 1998 show extraordinary die anomalies and striking characteristics that collectors classify as major mint errors. These subtle details are nearly invisible to the untrained eye, yet to experienced numismatists, they are the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing asset. And yes, before you ask, the design you see on this coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909 to honor the president's 100th birthday. For over a century, the Lincoln cent has been one of the most recognized coins in American history. But within that long timeline, certain years quietly become legends. Now imagine this scenario. A retired teacher in Ohio begins sorting through a jar of coins collected over decades. At first, it's just a casual activity, something to pass the afternoon. But suddenly she notices something slightly different about one of her pennies. The lettering looks unusual. The strike is sharper than normal. Curious, she sends it to a professional grading service. Weeks later, the result arrives. Not only is the coin authentic, it's a rare high-grade 1998 error variety. Estimated value? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. In one moment, a penny that once bought nothing becomes a financial milestone. Here's the truth that many people don't realize. Rare coins don't just appear in museums. They appear in change jars, inherited collections, forgotten piggy banks, and old coffee cans sitting in garages across America. And right now, demand for exceptional Lincoln cents is stronger than ever. Collectors are competing fiercely for high-grade error coins because they combine two powerful forces: historical significance and extreme scarcity. Let's pause for a second though. If you're thinking, wait, if these coins are so valuable, why hasn't everyone found one already? That's a fair question. And honestly, it's because most people don't look closely enough. Think about it. When you get change at the grocery store, do you study each coin? Or do you drop it straight into your pocket? Exactly. Millions of valuable coins slip through circulation simply because nobody stops to check. And here's a little humor for you. Somewhere out there right now, someone is probably using a rare collectible penny to prop up a wobbly table leg. Imagine that moment when they discover it could have paid for a luxury vacation or even a new house. But the market itself tells a powerful story. In the rare coin world, condition is everything. When a 1998 no-mint mark error penny appears in near-perfect condition, collectors move quickly. Auction houses report aggressive bidding, private collectors compete internationally, and prices climb rapidly. That's how certain specimens have reached extraordinary estimated market values approaching $795,000. It's not hype. It's the reality of a competitive collector market where rarity meets demand. Now here's the critical detail you should pay attention to. Not every 1998 penny is valuable, but the right variety, the right strike, and the right condition can transform that small copper coin into a collector's treasure. The difference can come down to microscopic design elements, doubling effects in lettering, or die variations that only appear in a limited number of coins. So let me ask you something important. Do you have a jar of pennies somewhere in your home right now? Maybe a collection inherited from a parent or grandparent. Maybe coins sitting in a drawer that haven't been touched in years? Because hidden inside collections like that are exactly the kinds of coins professional hunters search for every day. The excitement surrounding rare Lincoln pennies isn't slowing down. In fact, the opposite is happening. As more collectors enter the market and fewer high-grade examples remain undiscovered, demand continues to intensify. Each year, the number of available coins shrinks while interest grows stronger. That's the classic formula that drives extraordinary prices in the collectibles world. And here's the inspiring part. Discovering one of these coins doesn't require a vault full of gold or a professional coin dealer license. It simply requires curiosity, patience, and a willingness to look closely at what others overlook. So tonight, before you ignore that small pile of change on your counter, take a second look. Examine the date. Study the details. Because somewhere across America, someone will discover the next extraordinary Lincoln penny. And when they do, that tiny copper coin could become their gateway to a wealth story they never imagined. Imagine reaching into a jar of loose change, pulling out a single penny, and realizing that tiny coin could be worth nearly $1 million. Yes, a coin most people ignore every day. A coin people drop on sidewalks and walk right past. Now imagine that coin quietly sitting in your kitchen drawer, your old piggy bank, or a forgotten box in the garage. Sounds unbelievable, right? But collectors across the United States are discovering that certain 1991 Lincoln pennies without a mint mark have become some of the most talked about coins in the rare coin market, with reported high-end market estimates approaching $923,000 for extraordinary specimens. And here's the shocking truth. Most people who own these coins don't even know it. Before you dismiss the idea, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced at them, but really examined them. Because in the world of coin collecting, a single overlooked detail can transform an ordinary 1-cent coin into a life-changing asset. And the 1991 Lincoln penny is one of those coins quietly hiding in plain sight. To understand why collectors are paying such staggering amounts, we need to go back to the beginning of the story. In 1991, the Abraham Lincoln penny, officially known as the Lincoln cent, was already one of the most widely circulated coins in America. Billions were produced that year at the United States Mint. Most of them were completely ordinary, but a tiny number were struck with unusual characteristics that collectors call mint errors, small production mistakes that instantly make a coin rare. And here's where things get fascinating. Some 1991 pennies appeared without a mint mark, something that might sound normal at first. But for certain coins, the absence of that tiny letter combined with subtle striking irregularities has turned them into legendary finds among collectors. To most people, it still looks like just a penny, but to a trained collector, it's like discovering a hidden treasure. Now picture this scenario. A retired man in the Midwest begins sorting through jars of change he's saved for decades. He almost tosses one penny aside, but something about the date catches his eye. 1991. He checks for the mint mark under the year. Nothing. He shrugs, then decides to look closer. Months later, after authentication and grading, collectors begin competing for it. The bidding climbs higher and higher. Suddenly, that forgotten coin becomes the centerpiece of a private sale worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stories like this are not rare in the coin collecting world. In fact, many of the most valuable coins were discovered by ordinary people doing something incredibly simple: checking their change. Let's talk about why collectors are so obsessed with these coins right now. Over the past decade, rare U.S. pennies have exploded in popularity. The coin market has grown rapidly as investors look for tangible assets, items you can actually hold in your hand. And nothing captures that excitement quite like the possibility that a single penny could transform your financial future. But here's the emotional twist most people don't realize. Every year, millions of potentially valuable coins are accidentally spent, lost, or thrown into coin-counting machines. Imagine feeding a handful of pennies into a machine at the grocery store, only to learn later one of them could have paid for a luxury car, or even a house. Now let's bring the focus back to the 1991 Lincoln penny itself. The coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, one of the longest-running designs in U.S. history. On the reverse is the classic Lincoln Memorial design used for decades before newer designs replaced it in later years. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, but collectors know the secret lies in the tiny details: strike quality, surface preservation, and most importantly, the absence or variation of mint identifiers. And here's something that might surprise you. Some of the most valuable coins were discovered decades after they were minted. That means coins from 1991 are still circulating, still sitting in collections, still hiding in jars across the country. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is holding a penny worth a fortune, and they have no idea. Maybe it's in a bank roll. Maybe it's in a coffee can full of spare change. Maybe it's in the same jar you've been ignoring for years. Collectors and dealers are constantly searching for these rare examples because high-grade error coins have become incredibly desirable. When the condition is exceptional and the rarity is confirmed, the market value can skyrocket. That's how certain 1991 examples have reached astonishing estimates approaching $923,000. If a coin worth nearly $1 million looked almost identical to a normal penny, would you recognize it? The rare coin market rewards people who pay attention to details others ignore. Tiny mint variation, a unique strike pattern, a preserved surface untouched by circulation. These subtle differences can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. At this point you might be wondering, why would collectors pay so much for something so small? The answer is simple. Rarity plus demand equals value. When collectors compete for a coin that almost never appears on the market, prices can climb dramatically. And the Lincoln Cent series has one of the largest and most passionate collector communities in the world, so every time a remarkable example surfaces, excitement spreads quickly through auctions, private collectors, and coin dealers. Many valuable coins were discovered by people exactly like you, people who simply decided to take a closer look at their old change. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table tonight, pouring out a jar of pennies, slowly turning each one over, checking the date, checking the mint mark, wondering if the next coin you pick up could be the one dot because somewhere among billions of ordinary pennies, a handful of extraordinary ones are still waiting to be found. So before you spend another penny, before you drop your change into a machine, take a moment to look closely. Picture this. You're cleaning out a drawer, maybe an old coffee tin filled with pennies you've been ignoring for decades. Most people would dump them into a coin machine and walk away with a few dollars. But what if one of those pennies, just one, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Not a rare gold coin, not a silver dollar, just a simple penny. And not just any penny. A 1986 Lincoln penny with no mint mark that collectors are quietly hunting for right now. In today's collector market, certain error examples have been valued at as much as $777,000. Yes, a single cent turning into life-changing money. The real question is, could one of those coins already be sitting in your home right now? Let's slow down for a second, because the story starts with one of the most familiar coins in American history, the Lincoln Cent. Introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, it became one of the most widely circulated coins in America. Billions were minted, passed through gas stations, grocery stores, and piggy banks across the country. Most of them are worth exactly 1 cent. But every once in a while, something goes wrong at the mint, and that mistake turns an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Now here's where things get interesting. In 1986, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. Many of them carried mint marks from different facilities. But a small number surfaced with unusual characteristics that collectors immediately noticed. These coins appeared to be missing the expected mint mark, creating a mysterious version of the 1986 penny that has since sparked serious attention in the coin-collecting world. And let's pause for a quick reality check. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your life. Thousands? Maybe tens of thousands? If you're like most people watching this video, you probably never looked closely at them. You might even have a jar somewhere in the kitchen right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. If your spouse asks why you're suddenly staring at pennies like a detective at a crime scene, just tell them you're doing financial research. That usually sounds impressive. But here's the twist that keeps collectors excited. Some 1986 pennies without a mint mark have surfaced in exceptional condition or with striking errors, and when those factors combine, their value skyrockets. High-grade examples, coins that appear nearly perfect under magnification, are extremely rare. When collectors compete for them at auctions, the price can climb dramatically. In certain elite cases discussed in the collector market, values have reached hundreds of thousands of dollars, with some estimates placing the most extraordinary pieces near the $777,000 range. And if that number makes your heart race a little, good, because that excitement is exactly what fuels the rare coin market. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's understand why collectors care so much about mint marks in the first place. A mint mark tells you where a coin was produced. Historically, U.S. pennies might come from facilities like Philadelphia or Denver. Coins struck in Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark at all for most of the 20th century. But when something unusual happens during production, like an unexpected die variation, striking anomaly, or rare condition grade, it transforms a common coin into a historical artifact. Imagine the moment that coin left the press at the U.S. Mint in 1986. It dropped into a bin with millions of other pennies, destined for circulation. No one at the mint knew that decades later, collectors would be examining these coins under microscopes, debating tiny details, and paying astonishing amounts of money to own one. A coin worth 1 cent travels through cash registers, lunch counters, and parking meters. Then one day, someone notices something unusual. Suddenly, it's no longer pocket change. It's a numismatic discovery. That's why collectors inspect coins so carefully. They look at the date, the mint mark or lack of one, the sharpness of the design, even microscopic details in Lincoln's hair or the lettering on the reverse. And when the right combination appears, rarity, condition, and collector demand, the value can explode. And here's a question for you. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies you own? Not glanced at them, really looked. Because here's the reality most people miss. Rare coins are still being discovered in ordinary places. Inherited jars, estate sales, old dresser drawers, even rolls from the bank. Somewhere out there, someone is unknowingly holding a coin collectors would compete fiercely to own. Now imagine this scenario. It's a quiet evening. You dump out a jar of pennies on the kitchen table. One coin catches your eye. The date reads 1986. There's no mint mark. The surface looks unusually sharp and clean. Your curiosity kicks in. You research it. Maybe you send it for professional grading. Weeks later, the results come back, and suddenly that coin isn't worth 1 cent anymore. Stories like that are exactly why the rare coin community continues to grow. The thrill of discovery is real, and the market demand for exceptional coins keeps rising as collectors compete for the best examples available. Of course, not every 1986 penny will be valuable, but the possibility that one might be is what keeps people searching, because it only takes one coin to change everything. And if you think about it, that's the magic of coin collecting. These tiny pieces of metal carry decades of history, hidden details, and sometimes extraordinary value. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Look closely. Check the date. Look for the mint mark or the absence of one. Examine the condition, because that ordinary-looking coin could be hiding a story collectors would pay a fortune to own. The next record-breaking discovery might not come from a museum collection or a professional dealer. It might come from a jar of pennies sitting quietly in someone's home, waiting for the right person to notice. Imagine this: you're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe a jar of loose change that's been sitting there for decades. And sitting quietly among those ordinary coins is a single penny that could be worth over $800,000. Not a gold coin, not a rare ancient artifact, just a 1985 penny, the kind millions of Americans handled every day. Yet one specific version of that coin, the 1985 D Lincoln penny with a rare mint error, has stunned collectors and driven its market value to as high as $821,000 in the right condition. The question is simple but powerful. What if one of those coins is already in your home right now? Before you dismiss that idea, stay with me, because by the end of this video you'll know exactly what makes this penny so valuable, how to recognize the error, and why collectors across the United States are quietly paying life-changing money for coins most people still treat like pocket change. Let's step back for a moment. In 1985, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. They were everyday coins, designed to pass quickly from hand to hand without a second thought. Most of them are still worth exactly 1 cent today. But occasionally, something unusual happens inside a mint facility, something that transforms an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. A tiny mistake in the minting process, a misalignment, a striking anomaly. These errors are never intentional, and that's exactly why they become so valuable. When collectors discover them years later, the supply is incredibly small and the demand becomes intense. That's exactly what happened with a rare 1985 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny error that has shocked the numismatic market. Now imagine the scene inside the Denver Mint in 1985. Massive presses striking thousands of coins per minute. Metal blanks rushing through the machinery. In that environment, even the smallest mechanical irregularity can create something extraordinary. A die shifts slightly, or pressure hits in an unusual way, and suddenly a coin leaves the press with a unique characteristic that no ordinary penny has. Most of these coins slip into circulation unnoticed. They travel through grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines for years. Decades later, collectors discover them. And that's when the story changes. Suddenly, the coin that once bought a piece of gum becomes a prized collectible worth thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. Here's where things get exciting. The 1985 D Lincoln penny that has captured so much attention among collectors features a dramatic double die error, where certain parts of the design appear slightly doubled because of the way the die struck the coin. To the untrained eye, it might look like a minor detail, but to serious collectors, it's a signal that the coin came from a rare minting anomaly. And rarity in the world of coin collecting is everything. When a coin combines rarity, historical interest, and excellent condition, its value can skyrocket in auctions and private sales. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked closely at the pennies in your change? Be honest. Most of us glance at them for about half a second before tossing them into a jar. Yet some of the most valuable coins in the world were discovered exactly that way, ordinary people simply taking a second look. It's almost funny when you think about it. People spend hours scrolling through their phones, but the real treasure might be sitting in the cup holder of their car. The demand for rare Lincoln pennies has grown dramatically in recent years. Many collectors who grew up in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s are now actively searching for the coins of their childhood. That nostalgia fuels the market, and when a rare error surfaces, especially from a year like 1985, it immediately attracts attention. High-grade examples, particularly those preserved in near-perfect condition, can command astonishing prices. In elite auctions, rare mint errors have crossed the six-figure mark, and the most exceptional examples have been estimated at values approaching $821,000 depending on condition, grading, and collector demand. Think about that for a second. $821,000. For a coin most people would drop on the sidewalk without a second thought. That's the power of rarity combined with collector passion. But here's where urgency enters the picture. Coins like this don't stay hidden forever. Every year, more collectors are learning about valuable pennies and actively searching through rolls from banks, estate collections, and old family coin jars. Once these coins are discovered and locked away in collections, the opportunity becomes smaller and smaller. The earlier a rare coin is found, the greater the chance to bring it to market when demand is at its peak. And let's talk about something important that many new collectors overlook: condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition can multiply value dramatically. Two identical coins with the same error might have vastly different prices simply because one was preserved carefully while the other circulated heavily. That's why professional grading services exist. When a rare penny receives a high grade from a respected grading authority, collectors gain confidence, and the market price often climbs dramatically. Here's a quick reality check though. If you suddenly found an unusual 1985 penny tonight, would you recognize it? Or would it slip back into circulation tomorrow morning when you buy coffee? That question alone has motivated thousands of collectors to start examining their coins more carefully. Because once you know what to look for, the search becomes surprisingly addictive. And there's something deeply satisfying about the hunt. It's not just about money, it's about discovery. Every rare coin carries a story from the moment it left the mint decades ago. The hands it passed through, the places it traveled, the years it waited quietly to be noticed. When a collector finally identifies one of these hidden treasures, it feels like uncovering a small piece of American history. Now imagine the moment someone realizes that a penny they found in a jar might actually be worth thousands, or even hundreds of thousands. The excitement is immediate. The curiosity builds. Experts are contacted. The coin gets examined under magnification, photographed, and possibly submitted for professional grading. When confirmation finally arrives, it can feel like winning a silent lottery that was hiding in plain sight. That's why collectors across the United States continue searching relentlessly through old coins. Because stories like this happen more often than people realize. Rare pennies have been discovered in inherited coin jars, estate sales, garage sales, and even pocket change from local stores. The opportunity still exists, but only for those who take the time to look. So the next time you see a 1985 Lincoln penny with a small D mint mark, don't dismiss it too quickly. Examine the lettering. Look closely at the details. Compare it with verified examples of mint errors. Because somewhere out there, a small number of these coins are still waiting to be discovered. And for the person who finds one in exceptional condition, the reward could be life-changing. Just imagine telling that story someday. That the coin everyone ignored turned out to be the one that changed everything. And here's the real takeaway. Wealth doesn't always arrive in obvious ways. Sometimes it hides in ordinary places. In a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten box of coins that hasn't been opened in years. The collectors who understand this never stop searching. They stay curious. They pay attention to details others overlook. And occasionally, that curiosity leads to a discovery worth far more than anyone expected. So tonight, before you scroll past another video or toss your spare change aside, take a moment to look at those pennies a little differently. Because one of them might not just be a coin. Imagine this. You're cleaning out an old jar of coins sitting on your kitchen counter. Maybe it's been there for years. You dump the pennies onto the table, expecting nothing more than a few dollars in loose change. But hidden among those copper coins could be a single penny, small, ordinary looking, that collectors have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. Yes, a single penny. And today we're talking about one of the most fascinating examples. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny with a rare error that collectors are chasing aggressively, with reported market demand pushing values as high as $923,000 for exceptional examples. Now before you say, that can't be real, it's just a penny, let me ask you something. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? And what if one of those coins could have changed your financial future? That's exactly why serious collectors and everyday Americans alike are now digging through their spare change. Because sometimes, history hides in plain sight. Let's start with the story behind this coin. In 1979, the Denver Mint was producing millions of Lincoln pennies. Most of them were completely normal, mass-produced coins meant to circulate quietly through grocery stores, gas stations, and coffee shops across America. But every so often, something unusual happens during the minting process. A misalignment, a die mistake, a striking error that slips past quality control. And when that happens, the coin that was supposed to be worth 1 cent suddenly becomes a collector's treasure. Some rare examples of this coin were struck with dramatic minting errors, including off-center strikes and die anomalies that make them incredibly scarce. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything. Think of it like a limited edition masterpiece accidentally created inside a factory that normally produces millions of identical items. The fewer that exist, the more intense the demand becomes. When collectors realized that certain 1979 D-era pennies were circulating, the hunt began. Coin dealers, auction houses, and investors started searching bank rolls and old collections. Because when a rare mint error appears in pristine condition, collectors don't think in cents. They think in life-changing numbers. Some top-grade examples with major errors and exceptional preservation have been discussed in high-end numismatic circles with potential valuations approaching $923,000. That's right, nearly $1 million for a single penny, a coin smaller than your thumb, possibly sitting in a jar in someone's garage, potentially worth more than a luxury home in many parts of America. Now here's the twist that makes the story even more powerful. Most of these coins were never meant to be saved. They were used in vending machines, dropped into tip jars, and forgotten in couch cushions. Which means the chances are surprisingly real that undiscovered examples are still out there. Most people barely glance at them. Pennies are the coins we ignore the most. We toss them into jars, leave them in cars, or hand them to cashiers without thinking twice. It's almost funny, isn't it? The smallest coin in American currency might secretly be one of the most valuable. Some collectors even joke, the richest people in coin collecting started by paying attention to the coins everyone else ignored. But identifying a valuable 1979 D penny requires knowing what to look for. First, the mint mark. The small letter D beneath the date tells you the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. That alone doesn't make it rare, but it's the first step. The real magic appears when you start examining the strike itself. Serious collectors search for unusual characteristics. Off-center strikes where part of the design is shifted. Die breaks that create raised lines across the surface. Misaligned impressions that give the coin a distinctive appearance. These are the kinds of errors that transform a common coin into something extraordinary. Coins that remain in exceptional condition. Sharp details, strong luster, minimal wear, are the ones that drive collectors into bidding wars. Because in the numismatic world, the difference between an average coin and a near-perfect one can mean the difference between a few dollars and hundreds of thousands. A rusty car in a field might be interesting. But a perfectly preserved vintage car? That's what collectors fight over. Right now, interest in rare pennies is surging across the United States. Online auctions, coin shows, and collector forums are buzzing with people searching for overlooked treasures. Why? Because more Americans are realizing that the coins sitting quietly in their homes might be part of history, and part of a very profitable market. Many of the most valuable coins ever discovered were found by ordinary people. Not professional collectors, not museum curators, just everyday individuals who decided to take a closer look. Imagine the moment of realization. You're examining a penny under a magnifying glass. The strike looks unusual. The mint mark is correct. The details are sharp. You send it to a professional grading service, and suddenly the experts confirm what you suspected. That's the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary afternoon into a life-changing story. If rare coins like the 1979 D-era penny can reach values approaching $923,000, what does that tell us about the hidden potential sitting in old collections across America? Millions of coins are still unexamined. Thousands of jars, drawers, and safety deposit boxes contain coins that haven't been studied in decades. Of course, the smartest collectors approach this hunt with knowledge and patience. They study mint marks, learn about strike errors, and pay attention to condition. Because the more you understand the details, the easier it becomes to spot something special. You don't need a vault full of gold coins to start. Sometimes the journey begins with something as simple as a penny. So the next time you see a 1979 penny with a small D beneath the date, don't rush past it. Take a closer look. Examine the strike. Study the details. Because the coin you're holding might not just be spare change. It could be a hidden piece of American minting history, a rare error that collectors are searching for, and potentially a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because in the world of rare coins, fortunes don't always come from gold bars or stock markets. Picture this. You're cleaning out an old drawer, maybe a jar of loose change that's been sitting in your kitchen for years. You dump the coins on the table, quarters, nickels, a few pennies. Most people see pocket change worth a few dollars. But what if one of those pennies is quietly worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? What if the difference between an ordinary coin and a life-changing payday is something so small most people never notice it? Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and valuable modern coin mysteries in American numismatics, the 1978 Lincoln penny, no mint mark error. A tiny copper coin that collectors say could command prices approaching $896,000 in today's high-end collector market. And here's the part that should make you sit up straight. This coin could still be hiding in everyday circulation, waiting for someone with sharp eyes to discover it. Now before you think, that can't be real, let me ask you something. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Most of them look identical. Same portrait, same color, same date styles. But the truth is, a single microscopic detail can transform a 1-cent coin into a collector's treasure. That's the hidden world behind the Lincoln wheat and memorial pennies that serious collectors chase every single day. And the 1978 no mint mark penny is one of those coins that has sparked enormous excitement in the collector community because of a subtle but powerful minting anomaly. To understand why this penny is so fascinating, we need to step back for a moment into the world of the United States Mint during the late 1970s. In 1978, billions of pennies were struck for circulation across America. Most came from major minting facilities like Philadelphia Mint and Denver Mint. Normally, coins produced in Denver carry a small D mint mark, while those from Philadelphia historically had no mint mark at all for many years. But here's where things get interesting, and where collectors lean forward in their chairs. Within massive coin production runs, dies can be misaligned, improperly prepared, or struck with subtle manufacturing inconsistencies. These errors are rare, but when they appear, they create something extraordinary. In certain cases with the 1978 Lincoln penny, collectors have reported examples with striking anomalies and missing or altered mint mark characteristics that suggest unusual die usage. And when one of these coins surfaces in pristine condition, what collectors call mint state, its rarity multiplies dramatically. Think of it like this. Imagine millions of identical keys being produced in a factory. Then suddenly one key comes out slightly different, cut in a way that opens a vault nobody else can access. That's the power of a true mint error coin. Collectors are not just buying copper. They're buying history, rarity, and a story. And in the world of coin collecting, stories can be worth fortunes. Now here's where the excitement starts building. High-grade rare pennies have shocked the collector market before. Take the legendary 1943 bronze Lincoln cent, which sold for over $1 million. Or the famous 1955 double-die Lincoln cent, one of the most recognizable error coins ever discovered. These coins were once ordinary pocket change too. Someone somewhere almost spent them on a cup of coffee. So let me ask you a quick question, and be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually looked closely at a penny before spending it? Most people don't, and that's precisely why rare coins keep slipping through everyday circulation. The opportunity isn't gone. In fact, many collectors believe the opposite is true. Millions of Americans inherited coin jars, old piggy banks, and coffee cans filled with pennies from parents and grandparents who lived through decades when coins quietly accumulated in drawers and closets. Hidden in those collections could be coins from the 1970s that were never examined under magnification. Because finding a rare coin isn't just about luck. It's about awareness. Once you know what to look for, your brain starts seeing details you ignored for years. Suddenly, every penny becomes a tiny mystery waiting to be solved. Picture yourself sitting at the kitchen table tonight. A small magnifying glass, pile of pennies, maybe a cup of coffee. You start flipping coins one by one. 1983, 1991, 1975. And then suddenly you see 1978 staring back at you. You check the mint mark area beneath the date. You tilt the coin under the light. You look for unusual strike characteristics, sharp details, and surfaces that collectors call uncirculated. In that moment, a 1-cent coin becomes something very different. Now, let's talk about value because that's the question everyone wants answered. The collector market doesn't treat every 1978 penny the same. Condition is everything. A heavily circulated example might be worth only a few cents. But an exceptional specimen with rare die characteristics and near-perfect preservation can climb dramatically in value when certified by professional grading companies like Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company. In the high-end rare coin market, elite collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. When two determined collectors want the same coin, something remarkable happens. And that's how rare coins have reached staggering valuations approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, with market estimates sometimes discussed near $896,000 for extraordinary specimens tied to unique mint characteristics and pristine preservation. For serious collectors building registry-level collections, owning the finest known example is a status symbol. Let's pause for a second though, because this part always makes people laugh. Imagine walking into a bank with a jar of pennies and casually saying, "Hi, I'd like to deposit these," or fund the retirement you've been planning for decades. That's the strange magic of coin collecting. Treasure doesn't always look like treasure. And that's why collectors across the United States are paying closer attention than ever before. Rising interest in rare coins, inflation concerns, and the excitement of treasure hunting have brought thousands of new people into the hobby. For many Americans between 30 and 65, searching through old coins isn't just nostalgia anymore. It's a potential financial opportunity. Because every day, rare coins unknowingly leave collections, get spent in stores, or disappear back into circulation. Every day someone unknowingly hands a valuable coin to a cashier who drops it into a register without a second glance. And every once in a while, someone who knows what to look for spots it first. So the next time you see a penny, don't ignore it. Look at the date. Check the mint mark area. Study the details. Coins like the 1978 Lincoln penny, no mint mark error, remind us that extraordinary value can hide inside the most ordinary objects. Right now, somewhere in America, a jar of pennies is sitting on a shelf, quietly holding a coin worth a fortune.